Hi, this is Ms. Rodriguez. If you're watching this video, this is a review for the Chapter 4 test for Algebra 1A. Okay, so these are problems that are very similar to the problems you're going to see on your test. There's some that are going to be from a practice test that can be found on page 277 of your textbook. Okay. And then there's some additional problems that I added that are very similar to problems you're going to see on the test. Okay, so you definitely need to know about slope-intercept form. Remember, this is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So first type of question, notice this is an additional practice problem. So this is a problem you will definitely see on the test. It says to write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form with the given slope and y-intercept. Then graph the equation. Okay, so we've got y equals mx plus b, right? So y is equal to m, which is the slope, which is -2, x plus the y-intercept, which is -9. So we can actually rewrite this, simplify this. Plus -9 would be -9. So that would be the equation, okay? And then you would be able to graph this by plotting your y-intercept and then using the slope to plot your second point. So we'll do that for this problem here. Number 1, it says to graph y equals 2x minus 3. So we know that 2 is the slope, and this -3 is equal to the y-intercept. Okay, so the y-intercept is -3, so it means it crosses the y-axis at -3. The slope is 2. Remember, slope is rise over run. So if it's 2, you make it a fraction by putting it over 1. So the rise means you go up 2, and run is also +1. So you go over 1, or you can even go down 2 and to the left 1, right? Because negative divided by negative is positive. So now you can draw your line, okay? Or graph it, right? Oops. All right, next question. Need to understand point-slope form. This is very helpful. If you're given a point and the slope of a line, then you can rewrite it in slope-intercept form. So here it says, write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form that passes through the given point. So here's our point and has the slope. So this is x1 and this is y1. So remember, this is going to be y minus y1, the point slope form, is equal to m times x minus x1. So you're just plugging in the values. y1 is equal to -5. The slope is 2/3. And then x minus x1, which is 3. So here, if I'm going to add the opposite here, so this ends up being y plus 5 is equal to 2/3 x. I'm going to distribute to both terms in the parentheses. So this would be minus 2, and then I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. Undo that. Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to subtract 5 from both sides. Oh, let me undo it. So this would be y equals 2/3 x. Then you add the opposite, and that ends up being -7. Okay, and that is your equation. All right, and then here it says write an equation of the line in slope-intercept form that passes through the given points. Okay, well now we don't have a slope, right? But we have 2 points, and we can plug those into the slope formula and then get the slope. Remember that slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or yeah, x2 minus x1. So then y2 is 8, and this would be minus 5 over -2 minus 2, okay? So 8 minus 5 is 3. We add the opposite here. This would be -2 plus -2, which is -4. So now we have the slope and we have a point, okay? So we're going to use that point slope form, y minus y1, which is 5, and then the slope times x minus x1, which is 2. So this is y minus 5. I need to distribute that negative 3/4 to x and to negative 2. And that ends up being 3 over 2. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I get y equals negative 3/4 x plus 5 and 3 over 2. And I'm going to rewrite that as an improper fraction. So this is negative 3/4 x plus 13 over 2, which is my equation. Okay. Okay. Okay, so next problem says to write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through the given point and is parallel to the graph of each equation. Well, parallel lines have the same slope, okay? Have the same slope. Okay, so if it's telling you this is the equation of the line, it's in slope-intercept form, so this is going to be the slope. So the slope is the same because the line is parallel. So now I have the slope and a point. So again, I would use the point slope form. So that would be y minus 1 is equal to negative 3, and then x minus negative 5. And I'm just going to rewrite this x minus negative 5 as x plus 5. Remember, you add the opposite, and then that's going to make it easier when I'm distributing, okay? So this would be negative 3x minus 15. I add 1 to both sides, so y equals negative 3x minus 14, okay? And then that is my final equation there. All right, now this one says that it goes through this point and is perpendicular. Okay, so perpendicular lines are opposite and reciprocal of each other. Okay. So if this is the equation of the line, it's in slope-intercept form. So the slope is 1/4. Well, the line that is perpendicular is going to be the opposite of this. So the opposite would be negative 1/4. Opposite of positive 1/4 is negative 1/4. And then the reciprocal of negative 1/4 is negative 4 over 1, which is equal to negative 4. So now the slope of the line that's perpendicular is negative 4. So I have my x1 and my y1. Plug that in, all that information into point slope form. And this is negative 3. So again, I'm going to rewrite this as x plus 3 because I have that. I add the opposite there. And then that's going to make it easier to distribute that negative 4 to both terms in the parentheses. And then I would add 6 to both sides. So y equals negative 4x minus 6. Okay. All right. Now this problem here, it says the graph shows the relationship between outside temperature and daily ice cream cone sales. What type of correlation is shown? So if we do like a line of best fit here, go like this, it's obviously going up from left to right. So that is a positive correlation. So you'll have a question like that, and you'll also be asked something specific about the graph. Like if the temperature was 70 degrees, approximately how many ice cream cones would be sold? So you could go like up here, and it'd be around there or on your line, and it'd be somewhere between 50 and 60, okay? All right. Then the next section talks about inverse functions, okay? So if one relation contains the element AB, then the inverse relation will contain the element BA. So you're just switching the X and the Y values, okay? So you will have a question where it asks you to find the inverse of the relation. Okay, this is an additional practice problem that will definitely be on the test. So you're just switching these around. So instead of 5, -3, it's -3, 5. You don't make them the opposites of each other. You just keep them the same. You just change x to y and y to x, okay? This is 12, -6, and then this is -2 and 4, okay? And that's all you have to do on that problem, okay? Then it's going to ask you for the inverse function, okay? So define the inverse function, which can be read as the inverse of f of x, okay? Or f of x inverse, okay? You replace f of x with y, okay? Then you interchange your x and your y values, and then you solve for y, because remember, inverse, you're switching the values of x and y, okay? And then you replace y with the inverse of f of x, okay, to make the new equation. So first thing, we're going to rewrite this f of x as y equals -5x minus 30. And then we're going to switch x and y. So in place of y, we're going to put x, -5y minus 30. Then we're going to solve for y. So I'm going to add 30 to both sides. And this is -5y. Then I'm going to divide both sides by -5. Recalling there's a 1 in front of that x. So that's -1/5 x, and 30 divided by -5 is -6 equals y. And then we want to rewrite that as the inverse of f of x equals -1/5 x minus 6. Okay. All right. And then number 18, same thing. This f of x is going to be y is equal to 4x plus 10. We want to switch x and y, so we end up with x equals 4y plus 10. And then I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides, so I get x minus 10 equals 4y. We divide both sides by 4. Remember, there's a 1 here. So this is 1/4 x minus 10 over 4 equals y. And I can simplify 10 over 4, and that's going to be 5 over 2. And then I'm going to rewrite that as the inverse of f of x is going to be 1/4 x minus 5 over 2. Okay. All right, and then here the table shows the number of children from Ethiopia adopted by U.S. citizens. Write the slope-intercept form of the equation for the line of fit. Now this problem, in the textbook, it tells you to use a graphing calculator, but in case you don't, you can get an approximation and then compare your equation to the possible solutions, okay? So I'm going to use these 2 points here. So that would be 5, 442, and 9, 2,277. Okay, so I'm going to find the slope first. So that'd be 2,277 minus 442 divided by 9 minus 5, which would be 1,835 over 4, which ends up being 458 and 75/100. Okay, so I'm going to plug that into my point slope form. So my y1, I'm using 442 is equal to 458 and 75/100 times x minus x1, which is 5. So I have y minus 442 is equal to 458 and 75/100 x minus 2,293 and 75/100. And then I'm going to add 442 to both sides. So this ends up being y equals 458 and 75/100 x minus 1,851 and 75/100. Okay, and so I would look at this was multiple choice. I would look at my possible answers and see which equation has values closest to what I got here. Okay. All right, and then number 17 is then going to ask, or 16 part B is then going to ask you to predict the number of children from Ethiopia who will be adopted in 2025. Now this is the year since 2000, so if it's 2025, you're looking for 25, not 2025. So we have our equation, which I used 458 and 7/500 x minus 1,851 and 7/500. Now remember, x are the years since 2025. So I would just, or since 2000. And so in place of x, I'm going to put 25. And then that's going to be 1,851 and 7/500. And then I multiply that and I end up getting 11,468 and 7/500 minus 1,851 and 7/500. So y is equal to 9,617 children. Okay. And then last problem, very similar. It says a scatter plot of data compares the number of years since the business has opened and its annual number of sales. It contains these ordered pairs. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line of best fit. Okay, so these are my points. This is x1, y1, x2, y2. So first I'm going to find the slope, and that's going to be 1,280 minus 650 over 5 minus 2. That ends up being 630 over 3, which is 210. So that's my slope. So I have a slope and a point. So that's y minus 650 equals the slope of 210, and then x minus x1, which is 2. And then I have y minus 650 equals 210x minus 420. Then I'm going to add 650 to both sides to isolate y. And I get y equals 210x plus positive 230. And there's my equation. Okay. So again, please, like always, call, text, email me, or stop by my office hours if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day.